What's good, people? Hope you're well. Welcome back to 12th Man. I've got another Arsenal show, and I have got Lee Judges that's joining us in a little while. He's going to be late, as he always is. I've got Jordan with me, man. Jordan, this is a long time coming, my bro, and it's something I've wanted to do for a long time. I know you're a busy man, and it's great to have you on, man. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. Thank you for getting me on, man. I'm not gonna do the whole line thing to you, Dan, and be like, I watch every episode. I'm a big fan of the because I'll be just chatting shit. I'm too grown for that. But I do see all your clips. I do watch the clips. Yeah, from afar, I've been someone that's watched the content and been an observer. So thank you very much for inviting me on, man. Glad to be here.
Nah, come on, bro. I've always had time for you. I think you and I definitely align on a lot of things Arsenal, but there's certain things we don't, which is great about having people on that's different. A lot of people hear enough from me on this show, so I like to get some other panelists on. And it's great to have you, man. Lee will be with us soon, people. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe as well. You're following Lee Judges and Jordan on all their platforms as well. And of course, if you scan the QR code, you can get in touch with Match Bingo, which at the moment people are flying with the Club World Cup going on. I think that's on as well. Chelsea tomorrow night. And then, of course, the Women's Euros have started as well. So make sure you click on the link in the description or scan the QR code. Get involved in that. Once you credit £5 to your account, you're underway. You get the automatic card and it ticks it off automatically for you. The problem I've got with this, Jordan, is I've got a little mini league table, right, of people that have told me they've won. And guess where Arsenal are in the table? Second again, LA. Liverpool are winning at the moment. Apparently, Liverpool fans have won more on Match Bingo than Arsenal. Surprise. Need something to go our way soon. And I wanted to start with some news that perhaps will give a little bit more excitement to the Arsenal fan base. Obviously, we have made signings in Kepa and Zubimendi was announced. We're going to get your thoughts on that as well. But everyone's talking about the news of Victor Gyokeres. Now, I want to share what has been said of late so that we're aware of the information that we've got. Now, what I do on here is I never say this is reliable and this is not reliable. I just share information as it comes for us to talk about it. People can make their own opinions on the reliability of sources. But at the moment, there has been some talk on Victor Gyokeres. Big up to Judges in the house. Here he is. We've got Sam C reporting that Arsenal were on the verge of completing a deal for Victor Gyokeres. The transfer is expected to be worth around or more than 65 million. Give Me Sport understands that barring any late complications, Gyokeres is expected to become an Arsenal player within the next few days. Now, it's never hours with Arsenal, it's always days. And of course, there's all new information as well up here in relation to it, suggesting that there's still not an agreement on the fee. Romano has suggested that there's a new contact last night between Arsenal and Sporting, trying to accelerate and close the deal for Gyokeres, but Sporting are still not accepting the final details of the proposal. It doesn't mean it's over, it's just part of the negotiating. Sporting are insisting on 70 million euros. Arsenal are trying to start at 65 million euros plus add-ons. This is so Arsenal. The situation is getting tense with the player because Gyokeres only wants to go to Arsenal. And in the recent hours, Gyokeres again has told Sporting and their president that he wants to go to Arsenal, that he will not show up for training and he will not play for Sporting anymore. To fulfill his dream of going to Arsenal, Gyokeres is giving up 2 million euros from his salary package to facilitate the negotiations. He's putting that money from his own pocket to the Arsenal bid to Sporting, and Gyokeres is pushing like crazy. Now, this sounds good news about us finally getting a striker that we're looking at getting, right? However, doesn't it just frustrate you that things are never simple with Arsenal? Like, if that is true and there's 70 million and we're trying to get this down a bit, if you really want the player, we're kind of desperate for a striker. Let's go and get him. I want to get your thoughts on the negotiating stuff now on the Berta, but first of all, your actual thoughts on Gyokeres, Jordan, as a player and a striker. Does it excite you, or do you have huge concerns over this one?
Okay, so Gyokeres first before the actual transfer. I think he's a brilliant centre forward. I think he scores, one of two goals very well. I think he's got two types of goals in his locker. His record is phenomenal. Jay-Z famously said, stats don't lie, and the numbers are there. I think the context is that it's in Portugal, but that's still, was it 50 goals or something stupid this season? I think it was 40 last season. My rationale for that is, even if you half that, let's say he gets half that next season for Arsenal, that's still 20 goals. That's still 20 plus goals. So he won't get 50 goals in the Premier League, but let's slash that in half. That's still a very, very good output. Most strikers don't get 20 Premier League goals. I think in this time of Haaland getting 100 goals in the season, and Kane more recently getting 30 goals fairly regular, as with Salah, we forget that 20 Premier League goals is still relatively rare. It's not easy to get 20 Premier League goals. So if you can get a forward that can put 20 Premier League goals in the back of the net, you're doing very, very well. I like the fact that he's bullish and he's strong. I don't profess to watching the Portuguese league a lot. But the reason why I've not been used the word excited by Gyokeres, we've got to work out is his name Gyokeres or is it Gyokeres? We've got to get that right. Like, let's get.
I think I call him Victor Gyokeres, but some people
So
call him Gyokeres or Gyokeres.
Yeah.
Don't ask judges; he'll be terrible.
Oh no, no,
right. I'll call him Vic.
Vicky. So let's get that sorted before he signs. But the reason why I've not been convinced, Dan, is that he feels a little bit one-dimensional to me. And I know lots of Arsenal fans and definitely rival fans will be saying, "Oh, you're just typical Arsenal fan trying to find excuses to not like a player that clearly is a top striker." I'm not doing that. I just look at the player and I think to myself, his attributes for me look like they are based off of power, sheer strength, and that is a big part of why I think he scores a lot of his goals, which is not a bad thing. I'm not so sure you can bully Premier League defenders. Apart from Haaland, I don't know a centre forward in recent years in the Premier League who's been able to bully. So I think you get found out very quickly if your biggest attribute is strength and power. I think you've got to have a little bit more guile, a little bit more nous. I think you've got to have a bit more cuteness about your play to really survive in this. There's some top defenders in this Premier League. Forget the top clubs. Even at your mid-table clubs, they've got good defenders. Teams know how to defend you. And I think if you don't have a bit more to your game than just, I'm going to outpower you to the ball, I think that gets you 5, 6, 7 goals in the first 5 games. My fear is you get to Christmas and you're found out. And that's one of my big things about him. He feels a little bit too one-dimensional to me. Now, how we play him, we don't know. Let's see what Arteta does with him. But that's been the only reason why I've been a little bit like, the numbers look great. He looks great. But just visualizing him in an Arsenal shirt, do I think this is the guy that can make the difference? Is he a difference maker? I'm not completely convinced he is.
Who did you want ahead of him? What were the other names?
So I think we all wanted Isak, right? I think we all agree Isak is the best centre forward. I mean, I think he's the best centre forward, the most complete forward in the league, and I include Haaland in that. I don't know if he's a better finisher than Haaland. I think he is, but that's a debate. But all round, I think Isak is the most complete forward in the league. That's not happening. Fine. After that, for me, it was going to be Osimhen. I think Osimhen is a real finisher. I think he's someone that actually lives for goals. I don't think he cares too much about getting involved in the build-up play. I just think Osimhen wants goals. Goals, give me the ball around the box. I'm putting it in the bottom corner. And this is going to get me a lot of heat, and it has got me a lot of heat. Before Gyokeres, and I don't want Gyokeres or Sesko, I would have taken Watkins. And I've said this on forever. Lee's heard me say this. I think there's a snobbery around Watkins because he's at Aston Villa and he's in the league and we know him. But I just feel like Watkins is a guy that on a bad season gets you 15 Premier League goals. On a bad season, 15 Premier League goals. Some can't get that in a good season. Put him in the Arsenal team, I feel there's goals to be got. But hey-ho, that's not going to happen. So there's a couple of forwards that I'd have taken before Gyokeres. But that's not to say that I'm angry we've got him. One thing I'm really happy about is that we've got a number 9. Not a wide player who can play 9, not a false 9. We've got a number 9 in the building. That's one thing I am happy about. He'll score goals because he's a top striker. I'm just not as excited by him as I would have been by other forwards. And just finally, your point about transfers and why it takes so long. I don't know. I have no idea why Arsenal, our transfers have to be we're looking at, we're linked with, we're monitoring, we're keeping an eye on. Then it's contact's been made for a week. What? Then it's bid might go in. Then it's bid has gone in. Then it's bid's been accepted. Then it's we're negotiating with the player on personal terms. Then it's terms have been agreed. And this is all like over the course of a month. Like, why is it our transfer take so long to do? Why? Liverpool's don't. City's don't. Even United's, they get stuff done relatively quick. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why our transfers take so long to do. They draw now, and even the wording of Romano's tweets. David Orstein's tweets. You know, they like the look of the player. They are going to make an approach. Arsenal are considering making a... What's going on? Make the bid or don't. Anyway, I think it'll get done and we move.
Look, I can understand why you've backed up your opinions as the feeling that you've got question marks. I personally believe that Victor Gyokeres is a guy worth taking the risk on. Now, when you're putting in this amount of quality, the volume of goals he's scoring, I think it's less of a risk than Benjamin Sesko. I actually think it's less of a risk than going for one of the kind of guys that, you know, in Europe at the moment that might not be like an Ekatike or somebody like that, because if you're going to look outside of the Premier League, why not go for the one that's absolutely bagging? And I think, judges, I understand where Jordan's coming from. I have no concerns with this signing. Do you have any? Because I know you and I have spoken about Sesko Gyokeres. You didn't care. You just wanted a striker. Yeah. But do you understand where Jordan's coming from with some concerns there? Or do you think Gyokeres is going to absolutely kill it at Arsenal and smash it?
Listen, I can understand the concerns from every point of view. And what is unbelievable about this situation is if you can get 3 of us in a room or even 5 in a room, you know, we're going to name a different striker. You know what I mean? That is what it's about. Like, you know, if I think, you know, as Jordan said, you know, I think if you put to the majority of the vote, Isak would come out on top. But then I think, you know, it's, you know, like Jordan's gone Osman. I didn't really think of that one, but I think it's a good shout. You know what I mean? It's Sesko. Calvert-Lewin, I think, has been mentioned. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, like Watkins. There's all sorts of things that go. For me, how I see it, and do you know what? I had a conversation with a guy in the gym today, and it's a great point that he made. I can't take this point myself. Do you know? And he said, "Who do you want?" And I turned around and said, "Do you know what? I think that Sesko will be the better player. He's the bigger, has got the higher ceiling and whatever. He's not quite ready yet. But I think Gyokeres is. So for me, it's Gyokeres at this moment in time." And he said exactly what I think. And in 2 years' time, we buy Sesko. I went, "Oh, that's a good shout." You know what I mean? Like, because we need it now. In 2 years' time, we might be able to go and get Sesko or go and get somebody else or go and say, what we need is now. And I think that's the way we've got to look at what is best for Arsenal now. And all hands lead to Gyokeres. I'm really honest about that. Like, you know, I think that there are a couple of little flaws in his game. Isn't there with everybody? I don't think that you could. I think everybody would, as Jordan said, Haaland is an unbelievable player. But I think if you really want to look at it, you could pick holes in his performances and his play. And he's not got a great first touch, or he's got this, or he's got that. Does he score goals? Yes. Gyokeres, he might be this, might be that. What does he do best? He scores goals. What do Arsenal need more than anything? Is goals. So I do think it's a game. I also think, as I said yesterday, Dan, and I'm sticking with this, that I also think having the proper centre forward benefits everybody else around him in those positions. That I think is key. I think that you'll get better outlay from the left-hand side now because you can cross the ball in. You're going to have a little bit more outlay from Saka because I don't think, well, they might do. It's up to them. If they want to put 3 players on him, they can do that. But then you're leaving something like a killer in the 6-yard and 18-yard box. I don't think you can do that. So I think that will benefit. I also think that if they drop off a little bit, then it'll help Odegaard and the midfield guys. So I don't think it's just about goal scoring and just about fit. I honestly think at this moment in time, if you was coaching against Arsenal at the moment, you're going to go, right, what are we going to do? Like, you know, let's block off the right-hand side. We've got a better chance of frustrating them and not winning the game, like, and then we can drop deep. And we got that. All of a sudden, that is not on the agenda as much. And I'll tell you why it's not on the agenda as much, because you can put in crosses from deep as well, like, you know. So I do feel that is the beneficial as well, like.
Sorry, guys. What's a mod? Sorry, just before we go any further, what's the mod?
Oh, moderator on the channel. That's what a moderator means.
Okay.
They moderate the channel, and they kick people out. So yeah, be respectful in the chat. Otherwise, to the panelists.
Don't have that on Channel 4, do they?
I don't have moderators on Channel 4.
All the abuse, they let it go through, Lee. They just they let
that do with us, you know what I mean? They don't care. They just we actually embrace it, you know what I mean? Like I say, what's the comment in the daylight? Jordan's a twat, and we go,
he's an idiot. This is a proper outfit, Lee. It's a proper channel like this one. This is
this is it. Like, this is why Dan's on board. He knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, James and Cotter have no one doing this because they're all asleep by 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. And we don't do it this early. No, come on, it's calm. It's all good, mate. Look, I wanted to ask you, Jordan, about the style of play because a lot of people are excited by Gyokeres, and I am one of those people, right? Whether you're excited or not, there's no point getting excited if our style of play is going to be this kind of rigid set piece FC. If we're bringing in someone who's prolific as Gyokeres has been, for him to have a chance of getting anywhere near those kind of level of goals, we have to have a style of play that suits him or suits the team. And I watched us back in 22-23, and we know we can do it. We were scintillating at times, blitzing teams. The last 2 seasons, we haven't seen that as much. We've seen it in little glimpses. I just wonder if Arteta might revert back to that style now that we've got Victor Gyokeres. And I feel like he has to. Because if he doesn't and we're just pumping balls to him because he's big, we're just going to turn into a little bit better version of Kai Havertz for me. So that does worry me, Jordan, more than the player himself.
I think you're right, Dan. I think he has to change. Me and Lee and the boys on Forever spoken about the need this season to change the tactics. Because if he's going to do this season what he did last season, we're not going to win the league. We might not even get second. He's got to change the attacking shape. And I hope with the signing of Gyokeres, I hope that means now that he's going to have a forward that, unlike Kai Havertz, that comes deep to create space in behind for the Flirter and Saka, or unlike Jesus, who pulls wide to create space for other players to come into it. I hope with Gyokeres, it's a simple case of just going behind, running behind. We've now got passers. We've got Zubimendi, we've got Norgard, we've got obviously Odegaard. We've got guys that can find you. So we've got that centre forward now that wants to kind of go in behind. I think we might have a lot of joy. Now, one big thing that we came up against a lot last season, and we always do, are teams that play a low block, right? Well, that then hopefully will mean that we'll get the Odegaard of 2 years ago that shot a lot from distance. So if you're gonna sit back and just play a low block, fine. We've got guys that can strike from outside the box. So if you want to shut down Odegaard, if you want to shut down Zubimendi, we've seen Declan Rice. His technical ability from range is there as well. If you're gonna shut down those guys from taking shots, that will enable space in behind for the likes of Gyokeres to do that in a way that Havertz and Jesus don't and can't do that. So I'm really hoping that Arteta does tweak his attacking formation this season, because he has to. I don't see how we can not. And if he does just have Gyokeres as a battering ram guy to pump the ball in, we're going to be in trouble. That's an option, because I think in the air he's brilliant and we've got good crosses of the ball. But if that's going to be the option, I think we're going to struggle.
Judges, he's got physical attributes, but most of our team have now. Let's be real. I feel like there's a balance that's needed between technical ability, but also some battering rams. And I feel like we've got enough battering rams now, that's for sure. I think we're bringing Norgard and obviously the signing of Marino. If you ever need someone with corners and set pieces, then with Gabriel Saliba, White, Havertz, Rice, and the code I've just mentioned, we're going to be all right in there, right? But I think Jordan's right in terms of that. And I think that's the one thing that I would worry about if there was anything at all. Victor Gyokeres was the one I wanted, right? I'm happy. I mean, in fact, I'm buzzing if we get him, right? But I do think that Arteta does need to change things a bit, because I think it was a little bit too predictable last season at times, Judges.
Yeah, and I think that he will do. I think that, predictability also comes with the players that you've got. Listen, Kai Havertz, Jesus are not... They're good footballers and they're players that make space and drop off and whatever, but they're not goal scorers. A goal scorer gives you a different option, a different way of life, as a football team. You might be in a game where you're not dominating. You're absolutely might be a up against it a little bit. Like ball goes across, bang, goal, and you score, and it completely changes the game. So I think that the change of the style will come organically. I think because of who it is, and the way you play, and I do think that is a key for us. Like, and also I don't care what anybody says. I think if you're playing at Arsenal at the moment, right, and you're a defender going into the hotel on a Friday night before you're playing Arsenal, you're up against the defenders you're up against. You're thinking, I've got to be on my guard when they're movement and all that. But 1-to-1 physically, I'm going to be able to handle that. And all of a sudden now, you're going in like, you've got like this beast of a number 9 now, and also the guile and class of a Saka. I don't want to be pulled out too far now, like, because that's another thing that you can do. Like, I think that if you was say the left side defender at the moment, Saka's over there. As soon as Saka gets the ball, this is what they'll be saying: gets the ball, fullback goes tight, you get across, like you get across, so you can block off that thing there. Well, all of a sudden, Saka he's got the ability to do this. Saka is get the ball down and like you go across, and where's Gyokeres? He's free. In it goes, bang. So I think naturally we will change a little bit, like, and also hopefully teams will then go, right, okay, I'm a bit reluctant to get over to that right-hand side now on Saka. I'm a bit reluctant to do that. So what does Saka do? He goes past his man, cuts it back, bang, we're in again. So things will change. I think at the moment, Havertz isn't one of those players that, and it's not natural for him where he's going to come off his man, knock the ball off, and then hit the goal, hit the like the 6-yard box, because that's a natural thing to do. I think he wants to get involved, and you see it so much. Then he's out on the right hand side and all that. Like, well, what's centre half thinking? I've got it made here. My centre forward has gone right out of the danger zone, and he can have it out there. I'm not bothered. Like, all of a sudden, I don't think Gyokeres is going to do that. I don't think he'll do it. So we will have to change our mental game a little bit. And I think it will suit us, like, because all of a sudden that centre forward staying there. And if you go back and have a look at the PSG game, as well as we played in that game, and that was without Havertz, it was with Marino up front, like, so the same scenario. How many times in that first 20 minutes did we play really well when the ball was whisked across the pitch, whisked across the goal, no one on the end of it, whisked across the goal, and Saka was stretching at one stage. If you've got the main man in there, like, all of a sudden, you could be 1 or 2-0 up, and you're thinking, blimey, the game's over. And I think that there's a little bit of that's what we've been lacking. When you had Jesus doing it, and when he was fantastic, remember that first season that he come, we had fantastic movement all over the place, and other players, because Jesus was playing so well, the other players like Odegaard was fantastic, like Saka and Martinelli are all playing well. I just think it's just naturally gonna happen, and I think that what will happen is, I think with say like Havertz will come off short on our halfway line, where I think Gyokeres will come short off of the edge of the box, and that will be a big difference to us. Like, you know what I mean, like.
Do you know, Lee, who I think the bigger, with us signing Zubimendi and now looking like Gyokeres, do you know who in our team is the biggest winner now?
For me, Martin Odegaard.
It's Odegaard.
Yeah, for me, I think that.
It's Odegaard. Odegaard's going to be, I think we're going to see a whole new Odegaard next season with Zubimendi, because now Odegaard hasn't got to come so deep for the ball. If I'm Zubimendi or if I'm Rice, I'm saying, Odegaard, do not cross the halfway line. I don't want to see you in our half. Unless we haven't got the ball, you should be in their half. You're making the final pass to put Saka in or put Gyokeres in. Yeah, I don't want to see Odegaard picking up the ball from Gabriel. That should never happen again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, and now he's got someone with hopefully the cuteness, I hope, to basically just put people in. Odegaard has had a really bad year last year, but he's not a bad player. I think if you put the right runs, he'll find you. So I think we're going to see a whole new Odegaard this season coming.
And if we don't, then there's got to be questions on him. I think, because you're right, Jordan. I think maybe the setup of the way we're playing, and I think you could go a little bit like with Martinelli on this as well. I think the setup of the way we always sort of say, oh, he has to do a lot more work and everything like that. I think those excuses are gone now, because you've got a proper centre forward in there now. You've got, like, you haven't got to worry about that. And you're dead right. If a defence decides to drop back 10 yards, right, that is where Odegaard has got to get into that space. He's got to get into those little pockets and start doing it. Now, he gets into those pockets because if we've got the players deep lining, I also think that it'll help out Declan Rice as well with runs, or that in that number 8, whoever's going to play that there. Because if they do come up, squeeze you, he's the one that can get in behind there, like, you know, as well. So I just think that this signing just, like, how can I say it? Like, you know, we've been second in the league on a couple of occasions. We've got to Champions League second. But I think with a handbrake on in our attacking side, if you know what I'm saying, like, I think with Gyokeres now, the handbrake's released and it just it should do, and I'm hoping it does. It will open us up in different areas of the park as well, like, you know. I'm excited by it. Because I think that what he has to change as well, Danny. The manager can't just go, right. Well, I say he has to change because we had Giroud and we never crossed the bloody ball, like, you know what I mean, in that sort of time. So, but we're going to have to play. If you're going to bring in a big signing like this, you've got to play to his strengths as well. You've got, you know, it's not good. It's no good like saying, all right, we'll play that, and we're, you know, and after 3 games, I'm sitting there at the Emirates and he's playing right wing and left wing. I'm going to be a little bit, you know, right, something's not quite right. And then you'd be looking at the manager. I think at this moment in time, a lot of people, and I'm one of them, is giving the manager the benefit of the doubt because I think he's good, but I don't think he's had the right tools. Well, that's not the case now. You've got the right tools now, like, you know. So you're not sawing a piece of wood with a spoon no more, are you? You're doing it with a sword.
Well, Lee, on that, sorry, Dan, I know you want to come in. Just on that point, if the season started tomorrow, Lee, and Gyokeres was signed today, who's favourites for the league?
Do you know what? I'm going to be very bold about this. I think Arsenal will be favourites because in the last 3 years we've been there and thereabouts without a striker, and now we've got a striker.
Dan?
Liverpool. Arsenal still got to do more for me.
I think the third favourites.
Liverpool.
We've got more work to do, I think.
Do you think the third favourite's Arsenal?
We need to strengthen the squad, but I think that our 11's as strong as anybody else's now. I think that at the end of the day, we've challenged Man City and Liverpool, a couple of years before. I don't think we really challenged Liverpool last season, but the year before we did, and we come second and that. We've done it without a forward, guys. We've done it without a forward. They had forwards. We didn't. So I do think it is a bit of a game changer for us. I really do. I really, really do. I think
he's a game changer, but I think he's only one of what needs to be a couple more. I think what we need to see on top of now Gyokeres, which we'll come on to in a minute, is Eze and Rodrigo. They're the sort of signings that will make me go, oh, okay, now Arsenal's serious. Just getting a striker, I think, is great. We all know we needed one. But that isn't just enough. That is like what we all expected in January. Now we're just getting that in the summer. What else are we doing? You know, for me now, this Gyokeres sign, as much as it's fantastic, phenomenal, that should have been the January one. So what we're doing in the summer now, what we see, Zubimendi's come in, great, got the backup goalkeeper, which is a bit meh for me, but, you know, is what it is. And then you go and you look at Norgard coming in as backup. Okay, cool. Who else is coming in? You know, is it going to be Eze? Is it going to be Eze and Madueke? Is it going to be Eze, Madueke, and Rodrigo? How mad are we going to go? Or is it going to be, you know, what has been over the last, which you got Gyokeres and the rest of them, unfortunately, just going to be a little bit of bit parts. And I think that for me, I wanted to ask you, Jordan, quickly on that. You actually touched on something which I wanted to ask you on about Zubimendi and Gyokeres together. They're both going to go into the first team, I think. I think that's quite clear. And it's going to be now a question of whether the left wing comes in to start or not. I think for me, as much as it's great, I want to ask a genuine question. What pressure is on Zubimendi and Gyokeres now? Because Zubimendi has got to come in and uplift us from what we had with Partey, Rice and Odegaard. Gyokeres has got to come in and score a minimum of 20 goals because Havertz got 15 in his first year. I actually think there's quite a lot of pressure for both of them, as well as the manager, by the way, but we all know he's under pressure. Do you think that's like kind of not fair because you're at Arsenal and there's always got to be pressure. But do you think that could be, they can handle that pressure of Zubimendi coming in and being that guy that takes our midfield to the elite, and then Gyokeres coming in and getting us across the line, or being that striker that can at least get us that trophy? Like, how do you think they'll deal with that, bro?
Well, I think more broadly, Dan, there's an issue of pressure. I mean, I bang on about this all the time or forever, and Lee's bored of it, I'm sure. I think there's a general issue of us dealing with pressure just generally. I think that's the biggest issue Arsenal have. I think the biggest enemy to Arsenal winning the Premier League isn't personnel. I think it's our ability to win those games at 3 p.m. On a Saturday in late November against Fulham at home. That's the game you need to win. We can get up for the Man United game. We can get up for the Chelsea game. We can get up for the City games. But it's those mid-table teams where the expectation to swap those teams aside and take 4 points minimum from those teams over a season, they're the games where, as a club, I have concerns about the ability to deal with the pressure. Now, in regards to the two players that you've mentioned, I don't think there's pressure on necessarily Zubimendi to come in and match or better what Jorginho or Partey did. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like there's a pressure to come in and hit the ground running for a big club. Right? A club that has aspirations and expectations to, at the bare minimum, challenge for a title. That's the pressure. But we're talking about a guy that is a seasoned pro in a top league and has won the Euros. This is a guy he's won stuff, and he's been a part of those teams. So I don't have any issue with Zubimendi in terms of, has he displayed in the past the ability to handle pressure and be part of a team that gets over the line. I don't have any issues with him. I like the look of him. I think he'll be fine. With Gyokeres, now he hasn't operated at that level before, and there's much more pressure on a centre forward than there is a deep line playmaker. That's just general anyway. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you're coming into a team that's not had a striker. I mean, I know people say Aubameyang. Nah, I wasn't a Aubameyang lover. I don't think we had a proper forward since Van Persie. I think since Van Persie left, and maybe Giroud. I did like Giroud, but either way, we're talking what, 6, 7, 8
long
years?
time ago, yeah,
a long time. So there's a pressure for Gyokeres to come in and do what he needs to do, and that he's got to deal with that. He'll get a big contract. He will be our marquee striker, I hope, because I'm not even sure we can even all say hand on heart, if everybody's fit come game 1 of the season against Man United, does he definitely start ahead of Havertz? I don't know if we know he does. I don't know if is Gyokeres coming in as our number 1 striker. I'm not sure.
Surely, man. Surely it must. I mean,
I don't know.
I know he loves that. I know he loves Havertz, but if he plays ahead of Gyokeres, I'll be asking what the hell is going on. I've got to be real.
Let's not forget, Kai Havertz was a high value signing as well, and he likes him. He does like him. So I think the pressure for Gyokeres is to come in and just do what he did when he was in Portugal. Now the level's obviously gone up a level, but this is why you're coming to Arsenal. You're coming to Arsenal, as I'm told, as a final piece in the puzzle to get us over the line. So do your job.
Yeah, it's interestingly, isn't it? Because, you know, the striker at Arsenal, everybody who's been looking at it, and it's now actually put more pressure on the player who's coming in to deliver, because that should be the case, by the way. I'm not saying it shouldn't. But I think this guy, you know, he's got a bang now, Gyokeres, and there is a bit of pressure for him to deliver, isn't there, Lee?
Yeah, it is. And listen, you know, like you look at Aubameyang, like, you know, it was never a problem about his goals. You know what I mean? Like, if you look about Aubameyang, it was all those about his goal. It was his inability to hold up the ball and do the work that a proper centre forward should do. I thought that was very, very weak in his game, his hold up play and things like that. And that's why you couldn't play the one up top with him at times, and that's why he drifted over to the level, played on the left and whatever. But as far as goals was concerned, you know, you can't argue with it, like, you know. So Gyokeres coming in, there's pressure for goals, but there's also pressure on him to do other things as well. Like, you know, he's got to be the all-round guy. And I think at the end of the day, there's certainly pressure on him when he's gone to Portugal, and he's delivered, like, you know, and as Jordan says, you know, if he gets half the goals there, that's going to be fine. And looking at Zubimendi, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Declan Rice plays in those first few games in as the midfield player to get ready to games and get him up. The one good thing about Zubimendi at this moment in time, he's going to be there from day one on training, or probably the second week of training because of the internationals and everything like that. But he's going to be on the tour and doing things like that. Now, when you say about Gyokeres, I think the pressure does come on him is when he comes into the team. Now, it's all right saying, "Oh yeah, he's going to start," but if he's signed in 3 weeks' time after the tour and everything like that, I think there's a problem, and I think that's why Arteta wants him on that tour early to work on those sort of things. Because I think if he doesn't go on that tour, I don't think he starts the first game against Man United, because I don't think he's going to be ready to what we want him and how it's going to be. So I think it's very, very important what happens in the next couple of days, and I think Arteta is pushing for him to be on that plane. The one thing that I would say with Zubimendi that I'm a little bit worried about, it's all right winning things in international football and everything like that, different kettle of fish, is that when you're playing for a team like Real Sociedad, I think there's an expectation to win certain games, but not every game. But with Arsenal, you're expected to win every single game you play. Now, for instance, when you're playing for Real Sociedad, are you expected to beat Barcelona, or are you expected to beat Atletico Madrid? Are you expected to beat Real Madrid? Well, maybe not. But Arsenal, you're expected to win every game. So you've got to be up for every single game. Every game you've got to be up for. And with that, we know that. We've all played football. When you're playing a team down the lower leagues, or you're playing a team with a big crowd and a big stadium, you buzz for that a little bit more than what you would do if it was a smaller game, and you've got to be mentally up for it. And also, coming back to Jordan's point when we were saying like those mediocre games and all that, like I don't think sometimes you play well in them games, but you've got a centre forward that gets you out of jail in those games. Sometimes you win that 2-0, and you look at it and you go, no one remembers that game. You know what I mean? Like if you have a look at you beat teams like Fulham, Southampton 2-3-0, and you 6 months later you go, how we get on against Fulham? Can you remember? I can't remember that. But at the moment they stick in your mind because we struggled, or we didn't do this and we didn't do that. I think that will be taken away. But I think look, come on, if you come into Arsenal, whether you're a player coming through the ranks like a Miles Lewis-Skelly or a Wanyeri or a big signing, there's pressure. And three of the best players that have ever played for Arsenal, in my opinion, three of them, right, have played at big clubs before that, i.e. Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, Robert Perez, didn't hit the ground running when they first come to the club. Didn't, you know what I mean? But still went on and had magnificent careers. Now, the likes of Patrick Vieira did, from day one. So did Aubameyang, you know what I mean? I think when he first came in was sensational, So it's very, very difficult. Like, Van Persie, as you mentioned there, Jordan, I was a proper centre forward, but was playing wide left, I think, for 3 years before he went into that role. So you're asking these guys to come in a very, very high level, what we are now, week in, week out, Champions League, Premier League games, and doing the business. And that is why I still think that we need to bring in top players so that we can just not be what the word I use now is not be squad players, it's rotators. We need that. So because you're asking Zubimendi to come in and be in at a high level every single week. I don't know if you can do that, but what you can do is be dipped in and dipped out. And if you've got someone at the same sort of level coming in playing that, and I think that is still a key for me. I don't want to be relying week in, week out. I don't know, seeing in January, for instance, when we've got December and January, when we've got massive fixture list of games, Gyokeres playing week in, week out, Zubimendi playing week in, week out. So when it gets to March, April, May, when it really matters, what's happened? They're burnt out. So we need to protect them, make sure that when it comes to the end of that season, that running, we're as fresh as a daisy.
Mhm.
And I don't think over the years we've been able to do that. We certainly haven't been able to do it over the last couple. But I think that this is the opportunity to do that. And that's where you're correct what you say, Dan, that once Gyokeres comes into it, instead of all our fans patting us on the back and saying how great the Cronkies are, it's got to be the next one that comes through. Now, when Gyokeres comes through the door, I'm going to be happy about it. But I'll tell you what, my eyes will then go on who's the next one coming in, because that one is going to be just as important as that one.
No, I agree. And look, there's a couple of super chats I wanted to bring in together on this point for Jordan next, because Crayon says, Crayon Dave says, why does everyone think Eze is a better creative player than Erdegaard? His chances and big chances created stats actually rank pretty low down. And Roy Keane has also added to that by saying that Liverpool beat Bayern 4-0 and Wirtz and Frimpong signed. We beat Sporting 5-1 and signed Gyokeres, and we beat Real Madrid 5-1. Is Rodrigo next and Saliba staying? These games matter. I want to talk about the attacking players that we're linked with, Jordan, because obviously Gyokeres we think is coming through the door, but it isn't going to stop there. Like Lee says, Eze being mentioned, Madueke being mentioned, and Rodrigo. There's a lot of talks coming out that after the Club World Cup, there's going to be Bayern Munich, Manchester City, Arsenal, I think Liverpool and PSG being mentioned as well. Are interested in him if he does leave Real Madrid. Are you expecting a madness, or are you more of a kind of, let's be realistic, are we really getting to get all three of them? I mean, I was actually be surprised at the start of the window if we were going to get any more than just a winger and a striker, let alone another two coming in on top of that. So where are you at with these names? Eze, Madueke, Rodrigo, what are you telling me?
All right, so let's start with Rodrigo. It's interesting you said there that there's links with us, PSG, and a few others with him, because I have not seen any links at all. We've been linked with him, and inverted commas linked with him, for about 6 weeks now. But forgive me if I've missed it, but I've not seen any links. I think we've linked ourselves with him. I think we've kind of put two and two together and thought, well, he plays in a position where there's a lot of competition. We've told ourselves that because he didn't play in one game in the Club World Cup and didn't come on, that he's really upset and angry and wants to leave, and therefore we're definitely getting him. And I'm like, listen, we might get him. Maybe there are links that I've missed, but I don't know if we've kind of told ourselves that we're linked with him, or if there are genuine links that we might get him and he's unhappy. Rodrigo, I don't think he's the superstar everyone makes him out to be. I think he's a very, very good player, but I don't see him as this, like, I heard at the start of this window, Dan, from Arsenal fans, he's like the North Star. He's like, if we get Rodrigo, if we get him, it's a madness. And I'm like, he's a good player. He's a really good player. We're not talking Mesut Ozil on deadline day signing. We're not talking who else?
Alexis Sanchez.
I mean, even he wasn't a superstar. He was a very good player at Barcelona, but he wasn't a superstar player. We don't really sign superstar players.
Would you not agree, though, Jordan, that it would be a marquee signing in terms of the level of quality that's around right now?
Well, that means that's your last point is relevant then. What's around right now? So that says the bar's gone down. So
exactly.
In comparison,
it has, though, hasn't it? It has, to be fair.
No, it has. So if we're comparing him to the standards of what's around right now, all right, cool. Rodrigo might be a superstar player, but let's have it right. Rodrigo isn't in the top 8 most important players in the Real Madrid squad. Maybe 10. I could probably name 8, 9 players in the Real Madrid squad who are more important to Madrid than Rodrigo. So how much of a superstar can he really be if he's not in the top 5, top 10? So I'm just saying, if we signed him, I'd be happy. He's a really, really good player. But the Arsenal gas is a bit like, it's a bit much. Eze. I love Eze. Eze's stats actually the last 3 years aren't actually amazing. Statistically, his stats aren't amazing, but I look at the player and I see a really good player that I think can make a step to a level up at a team like Arsenal. I think he runs at players. My only concern with someone like Eze is that cage type football that he plays might get beaten out of him by Mikel Arteta in a system. Does Eze still thrive? But I'll be real. Of the two, I'm leaning more towards Eze over Rodrigo, but I would be happy with both. And then Madueke, oh my God. I don't even think Madueke is a bad player. I don't think he's a crap player, but it just doesn't make any sense. Why would you spend 50, 60 mil of your budget on a backup to Saka? Doesn't make that make unless you're signing all three. That signing for me makes no sense. Madueke is a good Premier League winger. He's nothing more. If you're telling me that we're going to get him for 25 mil, I'll be like, all right, I don't love Madueke, but as a backup to Saka, the business makes sense. Economics work. For 55 mil? What? Really? Nah,
And helping them out and all out of their problems because they need to sell.
Exactly.
What are we doing, Lee? What are we doing?
I'm with you.
That Madueke one is really, really bad.
I'm with you.
And to the point where if we sign Madueke, guys, that could actually be Arteta's job on the line in terms of that has to work. If you're going to invest 50 mil of your transfer budget on Madueke and not get Eze or not get Rodrigo, I'm sorry, I'm looking at you a bit differently now. So those are my thoughts on the three wingers there. Of the three, Eze is my preference, but I do like Rodrigo.
Just one thing on the Eze thing when people say about stats, and this is what amazes me about stats. Don't forget that Crystal Palace play a counter-attacking game, right? You know, so they're not constantly on the ball. They're actually percentage of ball is very, very low. So his stats for what he does with a very, very low percentage of ball will probably be very, very good.
True.
But because the stats are shown like of a different thing, I think that, you know, these stats thing, I've seen Eze enough times to look at him and think, do you know what? He's a player. He's a baller. I watched him come out down at the Emirates, cause us problems all evening. Like, you know, played the cup final. Weren't great in the cup final, if I'll be honest, but key moment, he's there. Semi-final, key moment. So he is a top player. He's England international as well, same as the Chelsea boy. And at the end of it, like, you know, for 10 million pound more, I know where I'm going. And if you don't go that route and you go down the one that Arteta wants to go down with then I'm sorry, I'm with you, Jordan. Like, you know, and if he doesn't, and that stops us getting so and so and so and so, and it doesn't work out, on your head be it, Arteta, on your head be it.
For me, it's quite simple, right? It's quite simple for me. We need Eze and Rodrigo. Like, we actually physically need them both, in my opinion, because I think Ødegaard needs cover with Eze. Eze can actually give us a number of positions. I actually like him left 8 and 10. And I think Rodrigo is the guy that takes us on that left-hand side to new level. I actually disagree with Jordan. I think he's a very good player. However, when I look at the Madueke one, that to me comes on top of the other two or not at all. Like, if you're saying to me now, who would I prefer? I'd rather just play Ethan there. Because there's obviously this talk about Ethan not signing a new deal when he's looking at these names thinking, where am I going to play? And I actually understand why he would be thinking that. If we end up getting Madueke and don't get an Eze or Rodrigo because of that, and we've got Ethan who doesn't want to sign a contract, what are we doing? Like, we're completely making a massive amount of errors there. We've got a player who doesn't actually come in and improve us. We've got a player that's going to do no more than Ethan Waneri already does, with Max Dowman coming through as well, highly rated. We've got a player we're going to put on probably silly wages like we always do. Plus, we're spending £50 million of our budget on a player that ain't going to play that much and can only really play on the right wing. At least with Eze, he's versatile and can play across a number of positions. And Rodrigo can play right and left and take you to that elite level. This Madueke one makes absolutely no sense to me, if I'm honest. And look, I hope that it's just one that we're doing, you know, like when we were simultaneously looking at kind of 2 or 3 strikers. I hope we're doing the same there with Eze and Madueke and we just get Eze. But this one sounds like it could actually be happening, people. I can't lie. What's your thoughts on the Ethan stuff, Jordan, quickly?
I don't think it will happen. I don't think it will go. I think he will stay. Because that doesn't make sense either. I just think if the breakdown in communication is that he wants to know how much he's going to be playing next season, well, then there's 4 competitions. I don't understand why Mikel Arteta wouldn't say to him, all right, you've played, 15, 20 games across the season just gone. You'll feature heavily across the cups and you'll be in the squad for the Premier League games. You might end up playing, I don't know, only 10 games in the Premier League, but you might get 8 games in the Champions League. You might start every game in the League Cup and every game in the FA Cup. So that combined is what? That's 40 games across the season. I don't understand why that wouldn't be, appeasing to him. I don't think it's about money or I don't want to believe it's about money. At least I don't want to believe that Ethan Ranieri is pulling a big one because he's not getting the money. I don't want to believe that. I think it can only be he wants to know, boss, how much am I going to play? Where am I going to feature next season? And that for me then is a simple conversation of, well, I can't guarantee you where you're going to play, but I know I want you part of my cup teams, and you'll be in the squad for match day in the Premier League games. I don't think we'll lose Ranieri. I don't think we will. Doesn't make any sense.
Lee, what you said?
Listen, I think with Ranieri, I think that I've got a couple of things on that. People in the chat are saying that he's not a right winger. I don't think he will be eventually a right winger. But at this moment in time, because he's a kid, he's 18 years of age, it's not so physical out on the flank. You know what I mean? So he's learning his trade, doing that thing there. I think they eventually go into the midfield, into the middle. But at the moment, I think, back up to Saka or back up to Odegaard is still a good position to be in at 18 years of age. I also think that, in the under-21s competition, I watched that for England. Where did he play? When he come on every single time, wide right. You know what I mean? So I think there may be the physical side of the game is not quite there yet. But I can tell you that, sometimes managers go, do you know what? Instead of being on the bench and whatever, I'd rather have you in the squad and playing in a wide area than not at all. So I don't think it's a bad thing at this moment in time putting him out wide. I don't actually know at this moment in time what his best position is. I don't know if you guys think that as well. I think he's a very wonderfully technically very, very good player. But if you was to say, right, what's your position? Is it I
think he's a 10, but I like him in both.
10. Yeah, I think you could say that. I don't think they've. I didn't see a lot of the youth football to see where he actually did play for the youth team. You know what I mean? But as I said yesterday, Dan, Miles Lewis-Skelly played all of his youth team career in midfield, but now he's left back, and everybody's going, oh, but no one was saying when he was playing midfield last season, we got a left back in the offering there. I just think sometimes just let these players develop into what they are and what they're going to be. And, we all know.
You understand, though, Lee, why he might have concerns. Now, I happen to think that there's not a huge issue and he might stay and all this stuff, right? I think he's just trying to get a new contract.
I'll answer that. Like, how many games did Miles Lewis-Skelly play the season before last?
Hardly any.
None. Right? None. So he's at the same age as Ranieri. Miles Lewis-Skelly played no games whatsoever. A year on, he's played 20, 30 games England international. So now Ranieri's now, don't forget, a year younger. Yeah. Right? Now he comes into a thing where he's played 20 more games than Miles Lewis-Skelly going into the thing. So I don't really see.
Let me quickly ask it differently then, right? Let me ask it differently. This is just me playing devil's advocate. I happen to think he'll stay, and I happen to think he's just pushing for the right deal and the right money to Arsenal, right? That's my genuine opinion. However, can you not understand the people that are saying, well, Arteta didn't really play him at the back end of last season when he could, didn't really treat him too well when he was bringing Ben White and Calafiori, and instead of him, obviously, he's got a hell of a lot of players coming in now. We've just been speaking about them all. Eze, Madueke, potentially Rodrigo. Where is he going to play? Where's his development? Where is his career path? Max Dowman's being mentioned and tipped to be one of the best things that's come through the academy. Is this going to happen again? That's what I'm trying to get at. Can you understand that? Or is that just all nonsense? And that's just the way it is?
So, to a degree, I understand that. But my logic to that is that maybe that Arteta knows a little bit more than us. He sees him training and all that. Maybe, he's just jaded towards the end of the season after, let's be honest about it, a fantastic breakthrough season. I thought he was outstanding at times. All of those doubts of that is, well, if everybody's going on about that, then, well, why didn't he start for the under-21s? You know what I mean? Like, he never started for the under-21s. Become was a bit part player for them. Why? Because he's 18. He's only just 18. And I think people forget that. Forget about what someone's doing at Barcelona. Forget what Fabregas done for us 20 years ago. It don't happen all the time. What I'm saying is that, Miles Lewis-Skelly, I see him on tour last season. I'm going to be really honest. This is how much I know about football. You know what I mean? Like, well, it's nice that he's on the tour, and I don't think he's going to feature much. And look what happened in a short space of time. You know, I wouldn't have thought that. You know, and Ethan, I thought, wow, it's fantastic they're on the tour. And you know, I was fortunate enough to talk to Ethan last season, and he was saying the same thing on that tour. Just happy to be a part of the tour. Now all of a sudden, you know what I mean? He's getting games, and he's I think a big feature for Arsenal. And you know, 6 weeks ago, or whatever it was, everybody was panicking that Miles Lewis-Skelly was going to Real Madrid. It was never ever going to happen, guys. You know what I mean? Like, or as he said. So maybe there's a little bit of skullduggery going on from certain people in the Ranieri camp just to make sure that deal gets over the line. Who knows? Who knows? But at the end of it, I think I'm with Jordan on this. I think Ranieri is a definite. Why would he want to leave Arsenal at the moment? He's just 17 years of age. He's played 20 games. 17.
That's the point. Why would he want to leave? Unless he's looking at the kind of, I don't know, Jude Bellingham, Jadon Sancho route of going to like a Dortmund or a Napoli or a Benfica for a couple of years and then getting back to the top via that way and play for 2 seasons in Portugal or in Holland or in Germany. Other than that, everywhere you're going to go is a downward step. There's plenty of games. So unless he's been told you're not going to play many games, there's plenty of games this season. You're going to get minutes.
And then one thing I need to bring up on this, people are turning around and saying, Arteta's messing him up and all that, like, you know what I mean? And blah, 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 right? Because they want to chat. They want to get on the old Arteta bandwagon, right? I get that, right? But also you have to look at it and be really honest about it. Arsenal, when he was really making his time getting into the Arsenal team, we had no forwards. We had no Saka. We had no none of it. So you're chucking him in all the time, like, you know what I mean, and expecting him to and he done really well. But at the end of the day, now chuck him in now. Chuck him. See what he does now with proper players around him and make him develop. I think last season you're chucking him into games where, you know, if I'd be really honest with you, it was like, if he don't perform, we've had it. So I think maybe like, you know, just take a little bit of a break from it, see what happens this year with him. And as much as everybody's going on about, yeah, Ethan, and it's all to do with that, right? We've got a cup final tomorrow. Is he starting in your team at this moment in time? No, he's not. So he's got a lot of work still to do, guys. And
I agree with that.
That is something that he's got to do. And that's nothing against him as that. I'm one of his biggest fans. I think he's an outstanding footballer and going to be. Shocked at when I see the size of him and all that, like, you know, he's a big, strong young lad and all that, like, ability, unbelievable. This will be his breakout season, not last season, this one. And also, I think you've got to give these two guys a lot of compliments, where the Sakas and Martinelli's breakthrough seasons came in the Europa League, where they could be playing Europa League games and playing all those games, resting players and getting their games and minutes in there. He's having to come in when you haven't got that. His games are either Champions League or Premier League. So I think he's done fantastically well.
No, it's interesting. I wanted to get your thoughts on Ethan, because a lot of people are like, I mean, it'll be an absolute head loss if he does go, but I hope that he does stay. I must say, last couple of bits I wanted to bring to your attention was that there's rumours, Jordan, that the Sesko deal, the Leipzig have insisted on 90 million euros plus bonuses for Sesko. They weren't interested in lowering the offers. Arsenal were unable to offer more than 65 million euros, so they chose Gyokeres. Gyokeres will earn less at Arsenal than Sesko currently earns at Leipzig, which I thought was quite an interesting point. The other bits I wanted to come to you with, Jordan, was the left-hand side, because obviously we've spoken about players coming in. I want to get your thoughts on Martinelli and Trossard's future.
Both go.
Go on, bro.
Both go.
Both go. Well, look, let me just read out what the latest is from Romano. Reports linking Martinelli to Al Nassr are wide of the mark. Apparently, they're working on different targets. And there's rumours suggesting that Trossard could be allowed to leave this summer. Despite initial discussions over a contract renewal, the player is happy at the club, but Berta, with new ideas, could change his future. Arsenal could look at little as 20 million euros to be selling him. I think, if I'm honest, I'd rather see Trossard go out of the two if I can only pick one. If Rodrigo's coming in and it means both of them have to go, I'm cool with that as well. I like Martinelli. I know you're not a fan. I know Lee likes Martinelli, and I know that you're
No,
not
I
a fan.
I am a fan. I'm a fan.
Yeah, but you're not sure. Okay, you call him. What did you call him? The flirter, right? So yeah, the flirter. So I get where you are there. What do you actually see happening, and what would you like to see happen, bro?
I think one will go. I mean, there's reports that they're both being looked at by other clubs. I think a couple of Saudi clubs have been looking at both of them, and I know that Trossard has been linked with, I think it was Napoli or someone. But yeah, I mean, there's interest from rival teams in both players. It's an interesting one because I think you need a squad, right? And as a squad player, I think Trossard is ideal. I think when you bring him on for 20 minutes, when you treat him, I mean, I kind of refer to him as the wheel tord. He's not good enough to start for Arsenal Football Club, but off the bench as part of a squad, he contributes, and he's our best finisher. So, but then the downside to him staying is that then you then got to give him a new contract or let him go for free in the summer, of which I'm not actually that next summer, of which I'm not actually that bothered about. If we get one more year out of him, he goes on a free. I'm not bothered about that. Whereas in Martinelli, you sell him, you can get some good money for him. You can get 45, 50 million for him. Look, I'm not. I would have sold Martinelli a year or so ago because I think that his decline has been so rapid. And while there's still value in the player, let's get the money for him. But I will also say that I don't completely blame Martinelli on Martinelli's decline. I think the system that he's been made to play in hasn't helped him. Not at all. So I wouldn't be bothered if either went. I wouldn't be bothered if both went. I just don't think those two in our 11 win us a league. I think we need to level up. So we need to detach ourselves emotionally away from Martinelli and ask the question, does Martinelli win you a Premier League title? And I think the answer is unfortunately no. And that hurts to say because I had really high hopes for him. You know, the first couple of years, I just thought he was the best thing around. He was so bullish. He was so direct. You know, he got shots off. I just think now, do you know what it reminds me of?
Go on.
It reminds me a little bit of Anthony Joshua in that he feels like he's gun shy. He doesn't let off anymore. He seems to be playing within himself a little bit, and it's still there. It's there. We just don't see it. And I'll give you a pass 1 year because you were injured, but it's been 2 years now where I've been like, I just wonder if we've lost that Martinelli and it's time to recoup or make our money on it and invest that in somebody else.
Lee?
What's a lot of? I've actually just listened to that waffle for 5 minutes.
It's nothing new, Lee, is it? It's twice a week.
I have that every week about Martinelli when he scores at Liverpool. Well, that's expected, like, you know what I mean? Listen, I think that
you love him, don't you? You love him.
I'm a massive Martinelli fan. I really am, and I also think that at the end of last season, when the pressure was on a little bit, who was the one that played really well? Martinelli scored a few goals and whatever. I'm with you on this, Jordan. I don't think the system helps him. I think with Gyokeres coming, I think we'll see Martinelli blow. I really do, and I think that he will be the surprise player of the season next year. I think there'll be massive improvements for him next season. And if there isn't, then we'll have this conversation next season and I'll go, do you know what, Jordan, you're right. But I think that give him the right tools in and around it. I do honestly believe.
Here's the thing, Lee. You say, let's give him a year and discuss it this time next year. As you keep saying yourself, I don't know if Arteta's got another year in him.
I think.
So can he gamble that he may get a good Martinelli, or would you get 50 mil for him and put it in a guy who you think can deliver? You know,
that's a great point. I think Martinelli can deliver. I think he has delivered. He scores important goals for us, and I think that at the end of the day, he's not used to the way he should do. And I get that he has to work a lot harder than Saka in certain areas. Saka works hard, don't get me wrong, but there is a little bit more of you stay up there a little bit more. That right side is solid a little bit more. There's no inverting from the right back where there is from the left back. All those little things I do think matter. And plus, I love him.
Yeah, I love him as well. I've got to say, I'm a big fan, and I love what he used to be, not what he has become of the last 2 seasons. I think when we saw him under Emery, it looked unbelievable. I think he scored 10 goals from the 9. Then he went into the season believing that we should have been, with his injury, playing more. I remember Smith Rowe getting ahead of him, and we were like, what's happening here? And then he absolutely blitzed it in 22-23, got 15 goals. I thought was very underappreciated that season. It was all about Saka and Odegaard. For me, Martinelli was just as good, if not more important. And then you obviously got the problems in the last 2 years. I think the style of players absolutely affected him. I'm with you, boys. I think it's been poor, if I'm honest with you, and I think it's been bad to watch. And Martinelli has not been kind of with that. When we have played, actually, some of his best football has been when we've been a lot more attack-minded. I mean, against Real Madrid, I thought he was absolutely outstanding at the Bernabeu, where he actually went and, went up Maisie run and scored, which was what he did back against, was it Chelsea, Stamford Bridge, where he did the last kind of Maisie run back when he was about 18, 19? I haven't seen that sort of Martinelli for a long time. Exactly. I haven't seen him for a long time. And I just think his development has been, it's been worrying, I would say. Because I've got to be honest with you, Jordan, when they first come through together, I thought Martinelli was ahead of Saka. Because obviously that season.
He was.
And it's just been scary to see the levels of development between both of them. Because, we can make the excuse of Martinelli, but Saka's had that playing style as well, and he's been delivering.
Exactly. And this is why you guys are so emotionally invested, need to kind of like man up a little bit, because you're both putting pressure on Mikel Arteta that this year's got to deliver, no excuses. But yet you're acknowledging that Martinelli, who hasn't been good for 2 seasons, and you're biased towards him because you like him, you would still keep him.
Hold on. You had a little 20-minute montage about bleeding Odegaard.
No, but it's not 2 bad years from Odegaard. It's 1.
Oh, right then. So just make 15 minutes of it then instead of 20. You're giving us 20 minutes.
What was that?
All about it for 20 minutes. Just do it for 10 minutes then. Just half it, right?
You're an idiot, dude. I ain't got time for this. This is why I thought it was just me and you. I thought it was proper conversation about Arsenal, an intelligent,
Oh, no, I understand exactly what you're saying there, and I do get that we're sort of being a little bit contradictory.
You are right. He is right.
Saying if this is the year that he has to deliver, there can't be any risks. He's a risk. He's a risk. Yeah, but
I get that. But
would you not have him as backup, Jordan, at all? Would you not have him covered behind Rodrigo?
The problem is that, and this is where I think Trossard has the edge over him. As an impact player, I don't think he benefits us. When have you ever seen him come off the bench and impact a game?
I mean, he did it against Palace the season before last a couple of times, but he's not really been given the.
Listen, Jordan, you put in a good argument,
I think Trossard is definitely the impact player. I think you're right there. But Trossard is not a starter. I think he is a sub, So maybe you're right, he is the better sub, but maybe Martinelli hasn't been used as a sub as much. But I do think that, look, I've got a lot of love for him and what he used to be. I haven't had enough love for Martinelli in the last 2, and I've been one that's been kind of not been trying to defend him as much because I just feel like he's not really been up there. Odegaard, there's no denying he was poor this season just gone. He cannot have a season like that again. Like, he has to deliver. And hopefully what you've said there about Zubimendi and Gyokeres coming in improves his game. And maybe it'll improve the side as well. We hope it improves everyone's game, of course. I think out of the 2, Trossard's probably most likely to leave. I just don't see anybody putting in a bid for Martinelli. I just don't think people are going to put him on 180k a week, which is what he's on, which is crazy, by the way, and offer us like 50 or 60 million. I just don't see that happening. Whereas with Trossard, I think they might look at that and think, well, he's got another couple of years left in him. He's probably going to be cheap. He's probably not going to want mad money. I think that one's more realistic, to be fair, because one of them is going to go if this left winger's coming in. We're not going to keep them all. So, yeah, I think that's probably the likelihood, to be honest with you. Look, guys, we've run over, and I promised Jordan that I'd get him off at sort of 3. So
yeah, but he does waffle on. He's waffled on about Odegaard for 20 minutes. Punishing.
And if you want to hear more waffle, guys, Forever Arsenal every single week on your feed.
Oh, it's crazy, it's crazy. But Jordan, it's been a pleasure, man. It genuinely has.
Love my bro. Come on, anytime.
Come on. How can people follow you, mate, and what you got coming up, bro?
If you want to hear more waffle from me on a serious thing, I'm on Instagram. It's just my name. I have a couple of podcasts, and my handles are on are on my Instagram page. So go and check me out there, my work. Otherwise, I'm with the boys, Lee, James, and Big Turkish on Forever, giving our thoughtful, intellectual, and progressive views on Arsenal Football Club.
And then that's what happens when Jordan's on holiday, like, you know what I mean? No, just sort of seriously, like, you know, follow Jordan, do that. He does some fantastic work. He's a great guy as well. Like,
absolutely,
I absolutely love the guy. I got to say, like,
I love you more, Lee. Love you more.
No, I'm a big fan. I must say, big fan. Jordan, so well done for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it, and well done for having your opinions the same. You get a lot of love in the chat and a lot of hate, just like me and Lee do. To be fair, so big up to you, man. I do appreciate it. Lee, always a pleasure having you on, mate. As well.
No, enjoyed it. You know what I mean? So if you know, sorry if I've waffled on a bit too much. Right? You know what I mean?
No, not at all, my bro. Not at all. I appreciate it. Listen, people, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Make sure you're following Match Bingo for tonight's game. We've got the Women's Euros, Club World Cup's coming back as well. Make sure you scan the QR code now. And all you got to do is get your card. It will automatically be playing, so don't worry about having to play old school bingo. It's all done for you on the app, so make sure you do that. Click on the link in the description, or of course scan the QR code and get that sorted. We're going to send you over to Troops, who's ranting and raving now with the guys on back again. So we're going to send you over there, so don't go anywhere. And yeah, big up to every single one of you. Big up to Jordan and Lee. Make sure you're following them, and we'll see you next time, people. We're out.